Welcome to Ode to Games, episode 199.
How'd that
Oh
happen?
boy, next week is
Road
the
to
big one, the
200.
big 200. I'm Logan Plant, joined today by Zach Ross. Hello, Zach.
Hello. I'm doing good, not that you care. Didn't even ask.
And Kevin Bullion. Hello, Kevin.
That comment about episode 200 makes me feel old. I don't know how we've been doing it for this long.
4 years?
4 years.
What happened? Where did
Yeah.
those 4 years go?
Zach, I always care how you're doing.
Why didn't you ask? Because you always ask. So when you threw it to me and you're like, "Hi, Zach," what am I supposed to
Well,
say?
because
Just
we
like,
already
"Hi?"
knew before the show. You said before the show.
Yeah, but
uh-huh.
the
So, like,
audience
we already
doesn't know
covered
how I'm
that.
doing.
Okay,
Could be
well,
doing bad.
audience, you now know that Zach is being a belligerent today on the show. That's how he's feeling. We got a big show ahead. We're still finishing up our 2021 wrap up. We're going to look back at our biggest surprises and disappointments from the year and see how many of our predictions were right, as well as make some new predictions for the new year. But first, we got some news to get into. Some exciting news, some disappointing news, starting with the E3 in-person event for 2022 has already been canceled, and the online event is up in the air. The ESA has not yet set any dates or confirmed that they're even planning to hold an online event like they have the last couple of years. So E3 not happening. They blamed it on the Omicron variant of COVID-19, but reports came out everywhere saying that it was scrapped back in November before Omicron was even a thing. So it kind of seems like E3 behind the scenes was a mess this year, which really isn't the biggest surprise. But Kevin, how do you think E3 not being an in-person event changes anything for the summer, if it actually does impact anything very much?
I mean, I guess it depends on if they have a presence at all. Because having the online show that was there last year, it didn't feel all that different, especially because the large majority of people don't end up going to the show anyways. You know, most of the people watch it online at this point. But I think it'll be a lot different if there's just no E3 at all, because when you had COVID first show up, then it was just like, well, we can't do it in person because of COVID, and it's too hard to pivot right now. Like we're all in the middle of this, and this just showed up. It's like it'd be hard to put together an all digital show, and then they did the online show last year. But if they don't do it this year, like we've been talking about for the last couple of years, that may be it.
Yeah, E3 is at death's door. But I mean, if they really have been planning not do it physically since November, they're probably gonna do a digital show. I mean, they've had plenty of time to prepare if that is the case.
Yeah, but don't forget that just because even if E3 doesn't have a digital show, it doesn't mean that all the publishers and developers won't still have events in mid-June, because those events are always typically even separate than E3 itself. They just hold them the same week. And I still see Nintendo doing a huge direct in June, even if there's no digital E3. I still see Microsoft doing a showcase. And the other ones usually aren't that good, so I don't think we'd really be missing
Yeah.
much if Square or whoever else, Ubisoft, EA, didn't show up. And Sony hasn't even been there for the last 3 years. So I think that as long as Nintendo still does a direct, which is always the highlight of E3, I feel like every year it's like a weekend of not much until Tuesday when there's some really good stuff from the direct. And Xbox has some good stuff too. I feel like if they still do something in mid-June, just because that's kind of the traditional point for when there's going to be stuff. Jeff Keighley's going to do his Summer Games thing, which has some good announcements, just like the Game Awards, that you can pick out a few from a 3 hour show that's a lot of bloat, but a few good things. So I still think the summer will be full of stuff. But yeah, E3 was dying before the pandemic, and the pandemic was just the dagger for it. That I don't even know if it's ever going to come back in person.
Especially
Yeah.
if they tried to do it in person and it fell flat.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
probably the chance to kind of come back and try and reinvent it and try and bring it around for another generation. But if it didn't work, then yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
probably not
And
going to work now either.
as for this year, there's still a PAX that's currently scheduled. I think PAX East is still scheduled for a few months from now, but wouldn't be surprised if that gets canned also. We'll see. But E3 as it once was will never be again. I'm very curious to see what June ends up looking like, and if they do anything digital. Because remember, they wanted weird, like, they were having some weird online plans a couple years ago that I never even went to E3.com during E3. I just watched from other official streams. I never saw what they actually had going on their website because it was way easier to just go to YouTube and watch through Nintendo's feed or at Microsoft's feed or whatever. So, yeah, they're not really needed anymore, it is the end of an era for sure, but I don't think that it's that big of a surprise anymore.
I just hope that there's
the writing's kind of been on the wall.
Yeah. I just hope there's some coordination with companies to have things around the same time. E3, for all of its faults, at the very least, it organized things into 1 week, and then you can be like, all right, I want to watch Microsoft's show. I want to watch Nintendo's show. I'm going to avoid EA's show and Ubisoft's show like the plague, and Bethesda may have something interesting, but I don't know. But now I'd be like, oh, hey, I'll check out Nintendo's stuff, maybe Microsoft's, and then all the other stuff. I don't know. IGN had a thing, and then you had Jeff Keighley's, but I feel like they were all going on, and it was really hard to keep track of all this stuff. I felt like they went on for a really long time, didn't have anything super noteworthy to draw people in to keep them there. Like it was just very hard to follow when you had all of these splintered shows that didn't seem to have a really big presence. And maybe that's just that they were new and they need time to, kind of separate themselves and bring people in. But it was kind of hard to pay attention to everything and to know what to watch.
I feel like especially in 2020, right when it hit, everybody kind of scrambled and went a little overboard on everyone needs their own direct style presentation. And I think 2020 was worse for that than last year was. I think that some people figured out, we don't need something every month or whatever to update people. There were some exceptions. The Square Enix event was absolutely atrocious and should not have even existed at E3 last year. But I think for the most part, it was better last year. But I agree, Kev. Having it over the span of like the entire year is too much. It felt like every week on this show, we're like, and there was another new event with like 8 games announced. And yeah, they just lost their impact after a while. So I agree. Having it focused over a week is exciting, and it gets everybody talking and exciting. And it's a big buildup in what is otherwise typically kind of a lull for releases. Not much comes out in the summer video game wise, so to have this kind of be the announcement time for both what's coming in the fall and beyond, I really hope it sticks that way, because that is a really good, exciting thing to look forward to at that midpoint of the year.
So hopefully we'll get some confirmation whether or not we're going to be having an E3 sometime soon, so that everyone's scrambling to try and figure stuff out again.
Yeah, we'll find out. But you don't even need a big direct to announce a release date like Nintendo did earlier this week, just dropping the Kirby and the Forgotten Land release date through a quick trailer on Twitter. It's coming out March 25th of this year, so that's just 2.5 months away, really soon. This, of course, is the 3D platformer for Kirby. It's the first ever. Looks a lot like Super Mario 3D World, Sackboy, a big adventure to me, kind of that genre. A cute trailer today showed off a couple of new abilities. The drill ability, where you can burrow underground and like surround enemies with it, and the ranger ability, which gives Kirby a gun, which looks like a lot of fun to play with in the 3D environment. And they also confirmed co-op. You can add a second player who is Bandana Waddle Dee that can help you take out enemies. And this is local only, no online. There's also a Waddle Dee Town is the central hub world that looks like it has some fun mini games like Kirby always does, like preparing food for customers at a cafe, which was super cute. But I'm super impressed by this game every time we see it. I think it looks fantastic. Kev, I know you're excited for this one too.
Yeah, it moved from cautiously optimistic from that first trailer to like, man, I have to think about if I want to get this when it comes out. I think what stood out to me was the worlds that you were going to. You already saw some of that in that first trailer of some of these dilapidated post-apocalyptic settings, but some of the set pieces that they decided to show off with some of those post-apocalyptic scenes, but then other areas too, made it look like this world was going to be really fun to actually explore. And seeing the hub world was also quite nice. I love Super Mario Odyssey. Did not have a hub world. Don't think it needed it. But I do like games that have hub worlds. And I think it'd be fun to, go back to those and romp around in. And that's where Kirby can have all of his mini games. They always have mini games in the Kirby games. So it's nice to see those come back. But yeah, I think what was most important for me is that I actually wanted to go and explore this world, and this trailer showed that I do. There seems to be a lot of varied locales, and to be able to explore them with all the different weapons, kind of like Mario's capability of being able to swap between all of these play styles at a whim, looks like a lot of fun. I'm quite excited for it.
I do think they are more linear levels, like a 3D world or a Galaxy than an Odyssey, which were these huge open sandboxes. I do think it'll be more level based, but I still do think it looks like a lot of fun and definitely takes inspiration from the 3D Mario series. Zach, where are you at on this one?
Well, I've never played a Kirby game in the past. I did play that demo for that one game. Does anyone remember what that game was?
Star Allies.
Okay. I played the demo for that. Didn't love it. I don't know. Kirby has never really seemed like my kind of game, but Kirby's trying out something new, the 3D platformer style. So maybe if it does well and you guys recommend it, I might check it out.
Yeah, I think it looks really cool. I'm excited we're getting it so soon. It's Nintendo does this a lot. They announced this game in like October, and now it's out in March. It's a really fast turnaround.
They have been doing that like with Metroid. Like they've been doing that a lot more recently, and I love that.
Yeah, WarioWare too. It was like 3 months from announcement to release with that one. Mario Party was 4 months. It's super exciting when they do stuff like that. But yeah, I think it looks like it's one of their bigger titles for the year, and to know that it's coming already in 2 months, that's a huge Q1 game for the Switch that I'm super excited for, especially as someone who was really disappointed with Star Allies. Kev, what's the last Kirby game that you actually played?
It's the one that we played together. What?
Oh yeah, Return to Dreamland.
Return to Dreamland. I mean, I've dabbled with some of the random Kirby games on SNES online on NSO.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
the only ones that I've actually played to basically the finish was the one that we played and Epic Yarn when that was on Wii.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. I never played any of the 3DS ones, and really not any of the other ones either. So haven't played too many of them.
I've played virtually every one in the series, and it's definitely been a decline in the last few years, except for Planet Robobot, which was absolutely amazing. Triple Deluxe and Star Allies were both pretty half-baked for me, so I'm really glad that the next one is this radically different thing that just from the gameplay, like Kirby games can play pretty bland, but that doesn't look bland at all. It looks just like a joy to blast through, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of collectibles to hunt down and find. Looks like coins are really important, which is kind of a big difference from like Mario Odyssey. You would just have thousands of coins, and yeah, there were costumes to spend them on, but I felt like at a certain point that money wasn't really a factor anymore. So I think it looks like it's doing a lot of things right, and excited to play it in just 2 months.
Super soon.
Yeah. Some other Nintendo news. There are reports that the next Mario Kart is in active development, and that it will have a new twist, which I guess is like, it's kind of like a, well, duh, news story, because obviously they're always working on the next thing in a series as big as Mario Kart. And every Mario Kart has a new twist, but this did get the internet talking about what that twist could be. Is it going to be Nintendo Kart with even more crossover characters than Mario Kart 8 had? So I want to ask you guys, what do you think this new twist could or should be for Mario Kart 9? Kev, do you have any ideas?
Well, on the Nintendo Kart thing, I feel like they can do Nintendo Kart without calling it Nintendo Kart, because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe already went to that point. And Mario Kart's been around for so long and has that name recognition of a game that sold 40 million units. So I don't see why Nintendo would swap the title, but I think that they could take a lot from that. You know, you've already got Zelda and Animal Crossing representation and Splatoon in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So I feel like the next step in that is to just take that to the next level, and that opens things up a lot to both new characters that can show up, so we can get rid of the Koopalings and all the stupid gold, pink, peach, and whatnot. But also that opens up for a lot more varied track designs. You know, you've already got like F-Zero and Animal Crossing and Zelda. If you open it up to more series, that's a lot more opportunity to have some crazy track designs. And I think it's the next step for Mario to open it up more to a lot of other Nintendo series. But I think it'll still be called Mario Kart. It's been around
have
so
the
long.
reveal trailers like Smash, where you never know who the next racer is going to be. And at the Nintendo Direct, everyone's waiting on the Mario Kart trailer for the new racer. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't want it to go quite to that level of Smash Bros. I think that it should keep its identity firmly rooted in Mario Kart. I think I've talked about this before. I want track wise, I want 12 cups instead of 8, and I want 4 new Mario Kart cups, 4 retro Mario Kart cups, and 4 crossover cups. So you have still firm 2 out of every 3 races is a Mario track, but then you do have that injection of crossover. And roster wise, I'm excited about the potential of like Captain Falcon or Kirby. Kirby's a huge one. He should just be on a Warp Star. Like it makes so much sense. But at the same time, the Mario Kart 8's biggest flaw is its roster. And not because there's not more Mario characters to choose from, but just because the ones they picked are bizarre. I know I've said this so many times, but like Birdo and Diddy Kong not being there is just atrocious, and I don't understand it. And instead, yeah, the pink, gold, peach. I think that worse than the Koopalings is the babies. There's 5 babies. Yeah. Luigi, Mario, Daisy, Peach, and Rosalina. Like
you just need Baby Mario and Baby Luigi. They have the most recognition. They're actually in their own games.
And Tanuki Mario and Cat Peach, like, what are we doing with some of these choices? There's like 6 versions of Mario and no Diddy Kong, who has previously starred in his own racing game, and now he can't into Mario Kart. So I think that I would hate to see the Mario stable of characters take a hit because of all the crossover stuff. But yeah, expand it just a few more. Like, it doesn't need to totally be overblown and change the name. A name I've seen floating around is Mario Kart Crossroads, which I think is a solid name for the first big crossover Mario Kart after 8, which dabbled in
Furious?
It. Yes. That is another. That is a Fast
Can
Furious
you do
game.
that after?
And then after that, it'll be Mario Kart Rise of Shifter, which I would be so excited for. I think Crossroads would be a solid name. And then another thing, I don't want them to change the items up. I think like if they're like, oh, we need like a boomerang from Zelda instead of the boomerang from Mario, it's like I think the items should just stick to the Mario set of items because they're so recognizable. And something that's really hard about basically every kart racer in existence that's not Mario Kart is when you play it and you're like, I don't know what these power-ups do. Because everyone is so used to the Mario Kart power-ups. I just think changing that would be a bad idea too.
Yeah. I also hope that the twist that they do, if it's not Nintendo Kart, or if they don't lean into that more with the other characters, isn't as throwaway as some of the last couple have been. Like, I think back to Mario Kart 7, and it's like, wow, the idea of going, of having the glider and stuff, like, on paper, it's like, oh, that's interesting, but it really wasn't. Like, it didn't really do much of anything. Like, you just go to Mario Kart Double Dash of like how it completely changes how you play with 2 characters and you can swap characters for their own special items, and that really changes how you play and how you pick your characters. And I think that having some sort of twist like that where it does change how you play instead of just some sort of cosmetic thing, or like the kart customization really doesn't matter all that much. Like negligible stat changes isn't really that much of a big deal. Even Mario Kart 8's like, anti-gravity stuff can be hard to tell when you're actually on anti-gravity when you're driving because it just looks normal because the camera shifts. So I'd appreciate some way of them actually changing up how you play, like Mario Kart Double Dash did back on the GameCube.
Yeah, but the anti-grav did introduce like bumping into racers who both get the speed boost. Yeah, so there were some differences with that. But yeah, I agree. I do hope the twist is more than just crossover characters, because that would wear off, I think, pretty quick once you were actually used to the roster. I think something like maybe like a damage system or something like that. They would never do it. I just want them to because F-Zero does it so well. But just something cool like that where you have to repair your cart or something like that could be. But yeah, one thing from Smash I do want them to carry over is the ability to toggle any items you want on and off, because then you could totally customize your race and just have these bonkers races.
Like,
yeah,
both with the items and with like how you would want to design like cups or something, like for multiplayer. Like having to choose between 4, 8, like in divisions of 4s. Like, why? Why can't I do 6? Why can't I just do like a set of 2 races or something like that? Like, having more customization to really design how you want multiplayer cups to be, like even creating like your own custom cups to play with people with their own item rollouts would be super cool.
Yeah. Zach, anything else you want to see?
My money is on open world. I think they're just gonna make it
Wow.
just drive around as much
It's
as
just
you want.
Forza Horizon.
Whole area. Yeah, exactly. It's just Forza Horizon 5.
Well, hey, a Diddy Kong Racing style adventure mode would be really cool, and that did have a hub world that you drove around to discover levels. Like Crash Team Racing had that too.
Diddy Kong. Yep.
Yes, that could be really cool if they did have something like that. The closest they've ever come was the mission mode on Mario Kart DS.
Cool to see
which was
something
fun.
like that come back. Some sort of single player thing, so it's not all just multiplayer stuff.
Yeah. So I am so hungry for the next Mario Kart.
It's been a while.
It has been 8 years since Mario Kart 8. I don't count Tour. I don't count the RC car one. I don't even really count 8 Deluxe. It's been 8 years since a brand new Mario Kart. And it's time. I don't think it'll be this year, but I'm excited to eventually see it.
Gonna be for a while.
Yeah. Then in some Xbox news, Stalker 2, the first-person shooter, was delayed 7 months from May all the way back to December 8th of this year. So we are 11 months away and already have a firm date. This is bizarre news to me. Not necessarily the delay, but that they already stuck a date that's so far into the future. I think that's pretty bizarre. And this is the game that was recently in the news for saying that they were incorporating NFTs,
Right, it was
and then
them.
instantly pulling it back after the internet absolutely freaked out. So yeah, a delay for one of the biggest Xbox exclusives of the year. It's really a big two with this and Starfield are the two huge games. And we have dates for both of them 10 and 11 months away, which it's just a really weird feeling.
It's still so funny that they put Starfield's date just there when there's nothing else about it. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're pushing it out that long, you think they're just like,
Leave it as a window.
we're
just
doing
in
it
case.
like winter or something.
Mhm.
And it's very easy to just be like, yeah, we're doing winter 2022. And then you get into summer and they're like, all right, we're on track. We can do this.
Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, December. But all right, if they
Sticking to it
really
now.
trust that it's going to be ready to go on that specific day, all right.
Yeah, guess so. All right. And then lastly, we got a quick rumor roundup for you. There's some official Frontiers news, Sonic Frontiers, that is. So
not a rumor. This is
not a rumor.
roundup.
This is confirmed. That the full list of supported languages came out for Sonic Frontiers.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's voice and subtitled English, French, German, Italian, Japanese, Spanish, and subtitled only Portuguese, Korean, Polish, Russian, simplified Chinese, and traditional Chinese. So cool that they just shared everyone that's going to be able to play it in the language. But I think the big news is here that localization is already happening at this point. That is usually one of the later things to happen in development. So maybe that gives some credit that hopefully the game could hit this year. I know we're all still hesitant about it coming out not this year in 2023, but they are already localizing Sonic Frontiers, and the game is still a ways out. So I just thought that was some good confirmed rumors to share.
It's still hilarious to me that they wanted that game out last year originally.
Yeah.
That was not going to work.
Yeah. But here's a weird thing. Subtitles for Korean and Chinese is only on Xbox and PC.
Why is that?
Don't know.
And Chinese only on Xbox and PC. Is there some sort of Sony
Do they sell
distrust that we don't
Xboxes
know
in
about?
China? I know that Switch was very late to get over there. Are they
Yeah,
selling
see,
those?
yeah, because I know the Switch is over there, so I'm surprised that that Switch isn't included on that. So yeah, it's really weird.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know any more about that. I just see it here on the tweet. But yeah, that's rumor roundup for
Or
this
news
week.
roundup.
News roundup.
Actually,
And Cav, now we got a pretty beefy O2 to get to.
Yeah, so we are wrapping up 2021 and getting into some 2022 predictions before we get into looking ahead to this year and looking back at our predictions for 2021 to see if those came true. We thought we'd take a look at our biggest surprises and disappointments for the big three, Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft. We did this last year, and we're going to be doing it again this year. So We'll be going around for each company, picking one surprise from this year and one disappointment. We're going to start things off with Sony. Logan, your biggest surprise and disappointment for Sony in last year, 2021.
Yeah, so disappointment-wise, I was most disappointed in a lot, actually, from Sony. Now that I'm thinking about it, I thought they had kind of a disappointing first year. But one that I picked, just to be different from some of the ones I say you guys throw on, I was disappointed as a PS5 owner that they did not update the PS Plus collection at all. I know we talked about how this collection of PS4 games, free for PS5 owners that subscribe, could have been a great way to grow a Game Pass-like service. I know that we might be seeing something like that soon. There's the Spartacus that they've name-dropped in a few reports. But just that stayed at 20 games from launch to a year after launch, I thought was a big missed opportunity. And they could have thrown a lot more games on there. Because the cool thing with that is that it's not limited like PS Plus. Like, they don't go away at the end of the month. They're just there forever. So if they had just kept expanding it, I thought that would have been a really great thing to give some people some more free games when not a ton of PS5 games came out last year. So I just thought that was a miss.
They just don't want to be giving away those games for free, I guess.
Nope.
Nope.
But
and
yeah,
then,
I feel like
biggest...
most people forgot about it too. Like,
yeah.
It took us a while to remember.
If you had a new game coming out every month or even just like quarterly or something like that, it'd remind people that the service exists. But I feel like once the console came out and that kind of faded, people kind of just forgot about it.
Yeah. And it's weird because on the PS5 UI, you pick PS Plus to redeem your new games for every month. But the thing that is prominently featured on a big banner is the PS Plus collection. And I'm like, Sony, I haven't needed this page since day one of my PS5 when I redeemed all 20 games. It is literally useless to me. It's just a barrier to find the new. And yeah, I because of that placement, I kept thinking that they were going to update it, and they just didn't. And yeah, I feel like everybody forgot about it too. But biggest surprise from Sony wasn't something that came out this year, or that's going to come out for a very long time. But just the confirmation that Insomniac's making a Wolverine game. I think that's super exciting. The Spider-Man games are great. Heard amazing things about Ratchet and Clank. And knowing that there's a Wolverine game coming at some point, a superhero I really enjoy, named after me, obviously. I'm super excited
Congratulations.
to at some point play that and see how gritty Insomniac goes with it, because Wolverine's a pretty violent, gritty character, but Insomniac games are pretty bright and colorful, so I'm just really interested in that project. Even though we know Spider-Man's coming out in 2023, so Wolverine 2024 the earliest.
Who knows?
Yeah,
Yes,
but
yes.
I was super excited about that announcement.
Too.
Zach?
Sony? Yep. All right. We'll start off with my biggest disappointment, right? All right. Oh, yes. Disappointment. I always forget the order. I always start off with the good news and end on the bad news, which isn't healthy, but it's just like what my brain automatically does.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to start off with my biggest disappointment from Sony over 2021, and it is the obvious pick, the state of the PlayStation 5. Still extremely hard to get, because of the pandemic and the chip shortages and all that. Just they're pumping them out as much as they can, and as soon as they go up, they're gone, whether it be everyone trying to get one, scalpers, what have you. It's just
Bots.
It's a mess. In bots, yeah, it's a mess right now, and it's been a mess since they launched, and I don't see it getting any better anytime soon. And yeah, that was definitely the biggest thing that stood out for me in terms of a disappointment that shined on Sony over 2021. But on lighter news, my biggest upside for Sony in 2021 was the announcement of Spartacus, I believe it was called. Did I get that right? It's the Game Pass equivalent that Sony has told us very little about, but they announced it, so they're going to do a Game Pass.
It was just in reports. They've said nothing about it.
Oh, okay. Well, there were reports of this is suddenly a little more of a downer, but I'll just say it's probably true. Reports of a Game Pass competitor, and since I love Game Pass and have loved it since I got my Xbox, I think it would be great. if Sony could pull this off. So definitely looking forward to that. Yeah, and since I don't have a PS5, my list of upsides on PlayStation were pretty limited over the year, but I think Spartacus could be good if it's real. Who knows?
I would think
I'm sure
they're
is.
working on something. They've had
I think so too.
Yeah.
almost equivalent that they didn't really work on in PS Now, and so I feel like just pivoting that to
Well, just today, they are pulling PS Now cards from store shelves, like the digital download cards, and so that's kind of a note that they are shifting to something new, probably.
which I think they need to do. I think PS Now is needs a facelifted. I assume that Spartacus, whatever that turns into, will be that. For me, the state of buying a PS5, same as Zach, is the biggest disappointment. And after a year of trying to get it, I mean, it turns from like frustration to just complete apathy. And it sucks that it's at that point where you want to buy this thing and you want to play some of the games that are on it, but after doing it for so long, you're almost like, I don't care anymore. Like, that's where I'm at, where I enter the lotteries that some of these places have, but I'm almost just like, if I win, cool. If I don't win, whatever. That's what I was expecting. And that's, I don't know, I don't think that's the type of situation that you want to foster in your customers. Yeah. I know that they don't have very much say in it. Stores should be doing more to stop bots and scalpers, but they don't seem to ever do it. But in terms of producing these things, it seems like they're at capacity with what they can do. But at the same time, it's just like, that is the state of it. And it sucks. Like, I want to have one, but I'm also just like, whatever. I have my PS4. I'll play some games on there. I've got my Switch. The new big PS5 games, I'm just going to wait. And it's just turned to apathy. So, yeah, that hasn't been great. For my surprise, it's just Insomniac games in general. I still remember watching that presentation and then seeing that they were working on 2 games just after Ratchet and Clank was announced. I'm like, wait, what? Like, it's crazy to me that they just launched a huge exclusive for PlayStation and then they announced 2 separate big titles in the works for the next couple of years. And you would assume... And
don't forget, Miles Morales just came out.
Miles Morales is out. You would assume that they're going to continue working on Ratchet and Clank in the future. They'll probably give it a break, but come back to it, sooner rather than later. That's a lot on their plate. And so far, they haven't done anything to show that that's not going to work out well. All the games that they've produced have been solid and in most cases really good. So that was a big surprise, just how many huge games they had working on it. It's like they're pulling the weight of PlayStation right now. Like, I know Horizon Forbidden West is coming out, but it seems like Insomniac is just yanking the thing along with Ratchet and Clank and the hopes for the next Spider-Man and the Wolverine game.
And speaking of Horizon, what I almost picked for my disappointment was that PlayStation had no presence in the... Absolutely none. When you had Forza and Halo dominating for Xbox, and then Metroid and Pokemon, say what you will about Pokemon, it still came out for Nintendo, and then Sony had nothing. They didn't release anything that they published. Like, since Ghost of Tsushima in August? They were just completely absent.
Not a whole lot of new content.
Yeah.
That's mostly a game that came out a couple of years ago. Yeah,
and I mean, I'm glad that Horizon got the extra time it needed, but that would have been a very different story this fall if Horizon had dropped. But now we're just a month away from it. So it's still coming out really soon. But I just thought it was crazy that in the first year of your console, you didn't have anything in October or November to sell. Yeah, but really, I guess that they're selling every unit of this thing they make. So it's not like they need software to push it.
Exactly.
There's not too much of an urgency when they're selling out.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. We're going to move on to Nintendo. Logan, what you got for surprises and disappointments for Nintendo in 2021?
My biggest disappointment is the state of Nintendo Switch Online. I think it's an absolute disaster. I think that not only is the Genesis and N64 rollout just a trickle of games, one N64 game a month, people also hate the emulation of it. And
Did
like,
you see some of the things going on with Paper Mario?
yeah, people. I saw people just like I saw. Yeah, I was. I played for 4 hours. It crashed and it deleted my entire
Yeah.
save. And it wasn't even like they had never saved. They'd saved before, but it just wiped everything clean.
Apparently, there is a very particular tree that you can hit, and it will crash your game.
Oh
In like
no.
in the second to last chapter, and if you
That's
didn't
so
use the save states,
horrible.
it will wipe your save.
And hitting trees is like sometimes items fall out. Like,
Right?
that's
Yeah,
a
you
thing
get money
do.
or the star pieces.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
so
Yikes.
not
But yeah, that's
good.
just it's just a total shame what's happening to that. That there's still not as many in 5 years. The Switch was out longer now than the Wii U was before the Switch came out, and the Wii U's Virtual Console and retro offering still runs laps around what Switch has, and it's just crazy to me. There's no Wii games on Switch. There's no DS games, no Game Boy games, no Game Boy Color games, and just the stuff that's there is like not great. The libraries aren't that fleshed out. So I think that's really disappointing. I thought the move to add the Animal Crossing DLC as part of the subscription was a big half step, and it's like you should be putting all first party DLC on there, not just this one random game DLC. Like, yeah, I just think that NSO is really terrible. And you know a Nintendo product is bad if I don't pay for it because I buy virtually everything they make. And I didn't upgrade. I did not upgrade to this higher tier because it is just not worth the money.
Yeah, it seemed like with Animal Crossing, it was almost like it was shoehorned in because they knew that the value proposition was already incredibly low with
Yeah.
the small amount of N64 games and the Genesis games that you can just go buy a Genesis collection and not have to pay every month to play those games on NSO. And they're like, well, let's throw on Animal Crossing since we're going to be releasing this big update with this DLC, and hopefully that'll like smooth things over or make it a bigger value for people to hop in, because I feel like once people hop in and pay for it, they're a lot less likely to drop back. Like once they're in, it's like, well, I'm doing that now. Here's my stuff. So
Yeah.
it feels kind of gross and
Yeah.
unnecessary.
And then my biggest surprise, I have two here. I already talked about Mario Party. I didn't put on here. That was also a pleasant one. But Metroid Dread, just coming out of nowhere after a decade and a half, was one of the more unbelievable stories of 2021. And then how amazing it was just the cherry on top of that. But my real pick is the return of Nintendo Directs. Was really great to see. It's been like 7 years almost since Iwata passed away, and since then, Nintendo's Direct identity has just really been up in the air. In the early Switch era, they came back strong, but then, especially when the pandemic hit, they were gone again. Then we got those partner showcases, which were terrible. They were just really bad. But then in 2021, we saw the classic formula of a spring direct, E3 direct, and a fall direct, and all three were really great. We got Splatoon 3 in the spring direct. The summer one was really big, and then we got Kirby and a handful of other things. And just to see the high production value directs come back, I think it is something Nintendo still does better than anybody else. And so to have those just come along every 3 or 4 months is just really exciting thing. And I hope it continues this year.
Yeah, it keeps them in the news. People are always hyped for them when they come out, and they're always big. It shoves Nintendo back into the spotlight. I feel like it's better for Nintendo and better for gaming to have a couple of directs a year, rather
And they're
than just
always
like the
good
random
now.
Twitter drops. Even though Kirby was great, it was nice to see Kirby with the trailer. But it's like it was cool that we knew of that game beforehand. That it was like, hey, we're gonna announce it in the direct, and then we can have more information on a Twitter video later.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a great way to do it. Zach, Nintendo surprises and disappointments.
Disappointments and surprises. So my big disappointment for Nintendo in 2021 was Breath of the Wild 2 not getting an official release date. We still don't know when exactly it's coming. I don't think we've heard anything since the teaser trailer back in the summer. It's just been dead air. Hopefully, I have big hopes that it's coming out in 2022. But like we said, there's been a lot of very short windows for games being announced and then released for Nintendo, but this one we've been waiting a while, so I was really upset that we didn't get a specific date to hold on to, and we're still a little confused on when this thing is coming out. Logan?
And am I crazy, or I thought I should have gone back and looked. I thought that they said at E3 after they showed the trailer, its re-reveal. I could have sworn they said, and we'll have more to tell you later. And then they just didn't.
There was nothing.
They just ended up not having
they
it.
had more.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
They did. Because I also remember that. And it'd be
Okay,
weird if
so I'm
both of
not
us remember
crazy,
that.
'cause
No, I
I thought
absolutely
that
do
happened.
remember that because I was talking to my friend about it, and I was like, yeah, hopefully when they do release more information later this year, that it'll be a quick release date. And we just got nothing. So.
And I was sure we were going to see it at the Game Awards. I thought that would be it.
Oh yeah,
But
absolutely. Me too.
Just wasn't there.
It was not. A lot of people were upset, including
For other
myself.
reasons.
Oh yeah, for the advertisements and
I was
awards in
upset
general. It's whatever.
for a
With
big
the-
other reason.
with the ending. Anyways, your surprise?
And my biggest surprise from Nintendo for 2021 was the last couple DLC characters for Smash Ultimate. They felt very targeted towards me as a person. I'm a huge fan of the Tekken franchise and the Kingdom Hearts franchise, so the last two characters being Kazuya Mishima, which came out of nowhere. I was not expecting that. And then Sora to wrap it off. I thought those were two great final choices, even though no Waluigi, no Phoenix Wright left me a little disappointed, but I couldn't be too disappointed because I was absolutely thrilled to have these characters into Smash, which is a game that I have consumed a lot of over the last year.
Yeah, still kind of crazy that Sora's in there.
Yeah.
I
Just
know.
all the mess
They did
that
it.
is Square Enix
Yep.
and Disney with everything there. It's a miracle that they were able to get him in, even if there is no Disney representation whatsoever.
There's still one more big hurdle to get over, and that is, will there be a Sora amiibo? And if there's not, I will lose my mind.
It
they've
comes down to
confirmed
the
it.
last one,
Yep.
and they can't get
It's
it.
just nothing.
I wouldn't even know what to do if that was the case.
Gotta
It would
make
be
your own.
such a sickening feeling. I spent almost a decade of my life tracking down 100% of this collection, and then it just doesn't. It just is incomplete
Never finishes.
forever. Oh, yeah.
Have they
I hope
announced
it
all the
happens.
other ones besides
Yes.
Sora at this point?
Yep.
How long was it in between announcements for the characters and when they got their amiibo announcements? I felt like it was longer for some of them.
It was usually the next Smash reveal. So when Sora was revealed, they were like, and Kazuya's getting an amiibo. But there hasn't been a Nintendo event since Sora was revealed.
Right.
So I'm just hoping
The
at the
next-
next one,
Yeah, the
they'll
next
be like,
direct.
here's the release dates for these, and we're making a Sora one, just so I can rest easy. Yeah.
Have to wait and see. Hopefully there's a direct sometime soon.
After Pokemon, I'm sure. Early February is what I would guess.
All right. As for me, for Nintendo, the Switch OLED was my biggest disappointment. Like, I know that people that have it and that play it a lot in handheld say it's great, and for handheld players, I think it is a worthwhile upgrade. I've heard the OLED screen is great, and having better audio and having Ethernet port in the dock. I don't know why that was not in the original, but it's great that it's here. Like, the improvements that they made were nice. But for someone that, according to Nintendo, played 2 hours in handheld mode all of last year, there was just no need to upgrade. And it just desperately needed a performance boost. I'm not sitting up here being like, I need 4K. Like, I don't care about 4K. I care about games running at 1080p at a solid frame rate, whether that is targeting 60 FPS for all games or targeting 60 FPS for some and 30 FPS for some that can all run at a stable frame rate. That's something that can be a big ask sometimes when it comes to games on Switch, and not even just like more demanding games. I feel like there are some games that just don't run as well, and you're kind of confused as to why. Like, I was playing Spiritfarer. I'm like, why is this chugging on the Switch?
Mm-hmm.
So it was just disappointing that we didn't get it didn't get an OLED that had a little bit more work done under the hood to just make it run that much better. Again, I don't need 4K, or I don't need it to completely blow the other Switch out of the water. I think it's just running games more stably. It was the biggest thing that I wanted, and I didn't get it. So, yeah, that was a disappointment.
And I would be surprised if, we talked about this before, if they had plans to make a more powerful Switch with this OLED screen and just the stock wasn't there. If it was going to be even harder to find because of the shortage of all parts than the OLED already is, which is not super easy to find. Definitely easier than the next-gen consoles.
I've seen a couple in the wild over here. There were 2 in the store. Really? I feel like it's, at least in Japan, there were 2 in the store that I went to just the other day. Amazon has had stock of it for like days at a time. So it seems like they're able to keep it in stock, at least here.
So I think that's a big difference. It's just maybe they just didn't feel like it was the time. Which, I mean, we could be sitting here and say our biggest disappointment is how impossible it was to find the new powerful Switch, if that is the route that they had gone.
Because then I would have actually cared about it.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, why am I paying $50 more for this? I don't play it in handheld. But at the very least, for handheld players, it sounds like a worthwhile upgrade, and that's good. And
if you're a new Switch buyer,
right, then it's like a no-brainer. Just pay the extra $50 and you get the better screen, and you get the improved battery life of that second model and the Ethernet. Yeah, but for someone who doesn't play in handheld and already has a Switch, there's very little reason to upgrade. So that was a disappointment. Surprise for me, we were just talking about it, 3D Kirby game. Like, Kirby's been around for so long and never had a 3D game. And it got to the point where it kind of felt like that's where Kirby was going to be. You know, you had Kirby Air Ride and that was it, but it seemed like they were just fine sitting in their 2D to kind of 2.5D from like Kirby on the N64. It was just like, this is where Kirby's going to stay, and this is where we're going to continue making Kirby games. So it was a surprise, a big surprise to see that they're actually making the jump, especially after they had a chance, you know, at the start of the Switch, and they came out with Star Allies that wasn't very good, that they're going to make a second attempt on the same console and delve into 3D for the first time. Was a big surprise to me.
I wonder if Star Allies was a Wii U game.
Could have been. It's pretty early on, wasn't it?
It was in it, was it 2018? I think it was. So a year after it came out. I wonder if that was a Wii U game. Because that feels like a weird series debut for the Switch. Yeah, and I feel like maybe this is the game that they wanted to be the first Kirby game on Switch. Because it's like that big reinvention so many series are seeing. But yeah, I'm super excited.
Better late than never. Let's go to Microsoft. We got 2 people that are in on the Microsoft ecosystem, one for the first time.
Yeah.
Logan, Microsoft biggest surprises and disappointments for 2021.
I think Zach and I have the same. Yeah, we have the same disappointment, and that is no co-op in Halo Infinite.
Oh, just the worst.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm also there as well.
So
That's
bad.
my disappointment too.
Oh, good.
And I also put
I didn't see
Forge
that.
being absent. Just the features that were absent from Halo Infinite in sort of its rollout of having the multiplayer come first and then have the story come later, and then you have multiplayer coming after that with Forge on the way as well. Just a very weird way to launch everything.
Just co-op being pushed so far out, like May of the next year.
Yeah.
I guess it gives me enough time to maybe want to play it again. So it's honestly, it might be better, because if it came out like a month later, or like 2 months later, and I had already played it, and then it comes out, and I'm like, it's still pretty fresh in my mind, but maybe this will give me some replay urges.
I think I'll be ready to play it again.
I think,
in May.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I've come around on this. It's no longer a disappointment.
Well, it could be a disappointment that it didn't launch with the game just in general.
That's true. Honestly, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, but then my surprise is just how freaking good Forza and Halo were. Just what a year to buy into Xbox, to pick up the Series S and be able to play these 2 top-notch games. Like, we've talked these 2 to death, so I won't go much longer, but just a huge surprise at how good Halo was after all this. Like, when we heard co-op wasn't going to be there, we're like, gosh, is this game even going to be finished? And it was, and it was really good. And then Forza also, just never having played that series, the quality of Horizon 5 was just unbelievable. So, yeah, the titles from Microsoft, which have been sorely lacking the last, 8 years for them, was really exciting.
You could go back to like 2010, 2011. I feel like even at that point, the 360 fell off when they were just doing Kinect.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of like a good string of Xbox exclusives, I feel like you have to go back like a decade, really.
Yeah.
Back to like the heyday of the 360. Hopefully we'll see more of that in 2022 and 2023. Zach, you already said your disappointment with Halo. Surprise for Microsoft?
My biggest surprise is, like Logan said, Forza Horizon 5, Halo Infinite, both absolutely fantastic games, but my biggest surprise is that they were both day one Game Pass. I would never have played Forza Horizon 5 if it wasn't on Game Pass, because I wouldn't pay $70 for it. But being able to experience that and experiencing this whole library of games that are consistently adding to over the course of the year, I just thought that was really incredible. And to be this being my first time in the ecosystem, being able to experience Game Pass for the first time and having this giant library of games and having the ability to play games on launch that I'm iffy about for completely no charge is just incredible. I love Xbox so much, and it was a good year to hop onto Xbox.
I thought your biggest surprise would just be to buy into Xbox at all as a first-time
Exactly.
Xbox owner.
I never thought it would happen. My biggest surprise is that I actually love Xbox way more than I thought I would.
All right, as for me, again, disappointment is the same. My surprise was the Bethesda acquisition. Like, that was big.
Surprising.
And I feel like whenever we heard about Microsoft and acquiring it was always Sega. It was like this, there was always this like news story floating around that Microsoft was going to be going after Sega. And then they go after Bethesda for $7.5 billion, and it's just huge when we'll go back to E3 for a second, that you have these big companies that are doing their own distinct shows at E3, and that one of those companies buys one of the other companies. That's huge.
Yeah.
And
I wish I checked this before the show. That happened in 2020.
did?
It was in September of 2020.
Wow. Okay, I'm stupid. I feel like,
But it's okay because it became official in April.
okay,
So
that's what it was.
It
That's
still
what it
counts.
was. The official acquisition of Bethesda. But yeah,
That's
and then
good
it
enough.
just
It's good enough.
that it gives Microsoft legitimacy with a lot of exclusives and instantly makes their library so much better is huge.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be paying off soon with these big games on the horizon for Bethesda. Hopefully they're good and that they're not Fallout 76 or whatever. That they're actually gonna be good.
And yeah, like you said, E3, that fits last year too, because it was surprising. Bethesda usually had a show I didn't care about, but merging that with Xbox's show was like, this is now a must-watch show because you've got two of the biggest developers together just showing off everything. Like anything could show up right now. So it felt like a big statement at E3 choosing to pair those two together.
Maybe the only time that happens.
Maybe,
Yeah, I guess
maybe so.
All right, before we get into a review of last year's predictions and predictions for this year, Logan, you had a list of games that you wanted to go through that are going to be coming out this year?
Just to kind of set the stage before we predict what's going to happen in 2022. Just wanted to set the context with everything that's coming for these companies. On the PlayStation side, exclusive-wise, first party, Horizon Forbidden West is next month, Gran Turismo is in March, and then God of War Ragnarok is TBD. There's some other exclusives too to PS5, like Forspoken is a Square Enix game that is a PS5 exclusive, and that's coming out in May. And then Xbox has Stalker 2, just delayed all the way to December. Starfield in November. And then Redfall is that arcane vampire open world co-op
Weird
game.
thing.
That's coming out this year. And then third party on those platforms, Dying Light 2, which was in the news this week.
500 hours. Also,
500 hours.
One quick note on that. That is not a selling point when you come out and say, you can beat our story in 20 hours, but to experience everything is 500 hours. I'm like, there is no way that the extra content that is not the main story takes 480 hours and even a quarter of that being all that particularly interesting.
Yeah. I don't know how math was done, because it's like 80 hours for main game and all the side content, but the 500 hours is like if you replay it and make every different decision. It's like if you play all routes 100% completion.
And they recommend playing all routes?
No, it was horrible marketing. It was terrible. Yeah.
Anyways, like
in
saying that
routes.
it takes 1,000 hours to beat Persona 5 because you have to go back and do all of the romanceable things just to see the tiny little cutscenes for each ones, and it's just like,
that is horrible.
No one plays like that. No one should play like that.
You beat it one time, and then you go on YouTube and look up every other ending.
Or if you really want to play it, you maybe play it one more time and pick like one completely different choice. You're not going to be playing that like 5 or 6 times. Anyways, that's coming out.
Yes, some other games coming to both platforms. Elden Ring, Hogwarts Legacy, Tiny Tina, Gotham Knights, maybe Suicide Squad, a minor prediction. That's not official. That's not coming out this year. We got Saints Row is another one, so there's a lot of big third-party stuff. And then on the Nintendo side, they've got a huge year, and they're doing it basically all themselves. Pokemon Legends, Kirby, Bayonetta 3, the Advance Wars remake that was delayed. That's coming out this spring. Ubisoft is making Mario and Rabbids, Splatoon 3, and Breath of the Wild 2. So that's most of the big stuff that we know about that is coming this year. But yeah, Kev, let's get into some prediction recap and new predictions.
All right, we're starting off 2021 predictions. We made 3 predictions for last year. We're going to be doing 3 predictions for this year as well. But first, let's take a look back on those predictions and see how we did. As for me, this ties into one of my disappointments from this year. My first prediction was we'll get an upgraded Switch model in the fall.
Okay.
Kind of. Upgraded is debatable. I mean, it is in some ways, but not in the ways that I wanted it to be and probably was thinking of when I made this prediction.
Have to be vague in the wording.
But technically that is true. So, there's one. And then it falls off after that. Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 remake in the summer. God, no.
Oh, that would have been nice.
I would have loved that.
That would have been so good.
And then this one, I got stomped so quickly on it. And it was kind of a joke pick, to be honest, that Biomutant would get pushed to 2022 just because we were joking. It was just a joke because they had been advertising the special edition for like 4 years and just like, oh, pick it up. The game will come out whenever. But it was within like 2 or 3 weeks or something like that where it was just like, nope, it's coming out this year. And it did. So
came out in like May, pretty early.
So that didn't work out so well. But I got 1 out of 3, so I'll take it. Logan, how are your predictions from 2021?
I also went 1 for 3. I said a new WarioWare would happen, and it did. We got Get It Together in September, so that was solid. And then I said new Uncharted, which did not happen.
No.
But
they get the collection announcement coming out now, but
not quite. But I think it'll happen this year. And then Cyberpunk will be fixed in August. I do not believe that happens.
I don't think so.
No, and the new gen version is still not out.
Nope.
Yeah. So 1 for 3. Also went 1 for 3, but new WarioWare, happy with that one.
Zach, how'd yours go? Do you also go 1 for 3?
Sure. This says God of War 2 delayed to 2021.
Oh, did I?
Which did happen.
I'm sure you just have the wrong year. You said it 2022.
Okay. Did, and hopefully it's coming out in 2022. I assume it is. Let's see. I said new F-Zero announcement, which I had said the previous year as well. Still no F-Zero whatsoever. So that's a 0. And then Fable 4 dropping in fall.
No.
We have not heard a single word about that game since it revealed the title screen. And it's just
they were working to get Forza Horizon 5 out, you know?
Yes, and now that's out, I'm sure it's different parts of Playground Games.
Oh, yeah, because I'm sure they're going to be working on DLC for Horizon 5.
Exactly. But like, Horizon 5 is going to be supported for a long time. So
I have to think that Fable was not that far along.
And they do have... Fable is by an entirely new team at Playground, so it's not no one is working on Forza that's working on it. They have 2 different devs now. But I still think it's years away.
It is seemingly many years away. Like, I'm thinking it might compete with Wolverine or something.
I mean,
who knows?
I have a feeling it's going to be similar to, like a Bayonetta 3 or a Shin Megami Tensei that just takes
Like we've known about it for a
forever.
long time, and then out of nowhere, years down the line,
not
they
that
just bring it back up.
And it's not like a Metroid Prime situation where it gets rebooted. It's just that they were announced and just vanish off the face of the earth for like 3 years, and then randomly show up and like, hey, it's happening. But yeah, I feel like it's not too far along.
My hopes on that have officially been dashed. So I also got 1 out of 3.
All right.
Good for
Very
me.
consistent.
Not bad for us to each get 1. It's pretty solid.
My new goal is 3 out of 3.
Wow, okay. My new goal is 0. Set my hopes very high for this year. Let's get into our 2022 predictions. 3 more. I guess I will go first. PSVR 2 was in the news recently of getting announced by Sony, and they didn't announce a release date or window, but the rumors were swirling that it was holiday 2022. I'm going to stick with that it comes out holiday 2022. I'm going to say it's 500. Looked back on the original VR, and that was 400, I think.
Yep.
At launch. So I have to think that it's either 400 or more, and my bet is on the more, and I would go with 500. I can't imagine them pricing it over the actual console. Like,
yeah,
I can't see them doing that. So
I highly doubt that, yeah.
I feel like 500 is a pretty safe bet on that. And I'll also say that it will be very hard to find.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's most likely going to be. My second prediction, Sports Story. Always got to bring it up. I'm going to say that it's getting a launching today announcement. I said at E3 2022, but that's before the news came out that E3 may or may not happen. But Summer Direct, it's going to get a launching later today or launching now.
I hope so.
Direct. And my last prediction, keeping in line with my predictions from last year, it's going to be a delay prediction. Sonic Frontiers pushed to 2023.
No.
Sega has to have learned their lesson.
Bad
and if
prediction.
the game is not ready, they better push it because it has not worked out for them in the past. If it's ready, launch it. But it's a Sonic game, and I feel like there's a pretty decent chance that it's not going to be ready.
One of our rumors in a previous week said that they're already considering that.
So
who knows if that's true.
I hope that it comes out this year and it's good, but if I had to pick between it coming out this year and is crap or comes out sometime in 2023 and is at least better, I'm going to go with that. So
you want it to come out and you want it to be good? Nah.
It's asking for a lot from Sonic, I know. I've got
it.
too high hopes for that, but I'm shooting for the stars on that one. Logan, your
Sonic
2022
song?
predictions.
That sounds like a Sonic song.
Reach for the stars.
Yeah. Reach for the stars. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm kind of looking at this year, and I think from the three consoles, they've all got one absolutely massive exclusive scheduled for this year. So I made my prediction. All 3 of those. For Breath of the Wild 2, I predict that it will come out this year in November, along with a gold Switch OLED. I think that there's basically always a Zelda Special Edition console. The Wii U had one Special Edition console, and it was for Wind Waker HD. So I think the OLED will get a gold edition for Breath of the Wild 2 in November. So the game will make it. For God of War Ragnarok on the PlayStation side, I think it's going to come out sooner than we think. I think that we will play this. It's going to come out in August or early, is what I'm going to say. I think most people think it'll be a big fall game. I think it's going to come out before that. I remember God of War 2018. They just dropped in like February. Oh, by the way, this game's out in like 2 months. I think it's going to be something similar to that. Maybe I'm kind of feeling like a July release, maybe in May or at E3. They're like, this game's coming out in July or August. So I think it's going to make it this year. I think it's pretty far along. I think that it's reusing a lot from God of War 2018 is kind of what it seems like to me. So I think it'll be out in summer at the latest. Starfield is kind of a two-sided prediction. It is, if Starfield makes it this year, it will be the next Cyberpunk. It will be unplayable and terrible, or it will get delayed. So if it comes out this year, it'll be really bad, or it will get delayed into 2023.
I feel like
that's
it's
how
a
I'm feeling about those 3 games.
Pretty good bet to say that a Bethesda release will be some level of jank to
worse
unplayable.
Than usual. Yeah, worse than usual for them. closer to what Cyberpunk was.
Can see that. Yeah, we haven't really seen much of anything on it. But they got to
Yeah,
stick to
but-
that date. They can't change it.
I know.
Just that date.
Yeah.
Not movable.
Yep.
All right. Zach, your predictions for this year?
Oh, my first prediction is similar to Logan's prediction from last year. I'm going to say that Naughty Dog's new PS5 exclusive will be announced. I'm not going to say it's an Uncharted. I don't think it's going to be Uncharted. I think it's going to be a new IP. But if it isn't Uncharted, I'll still take credit for it just in case. So I'll be a little vague about it. Just say a new Naughty Dog exclusive announcement. Next prediction is new F-Zero announcement.
You can just be doing that every day till the end of time.
It'll be
I
right
hope so.
eventually.
Will it?
I don't know about that.
I feel
Okay,
like there's a
fine.
decent chance you'll
I'll
die
I'll
before
throw
that.
I'll throw some stakes on there and say this is the last time I will predict this.
Okay.
All right. If it hits
Hold
this
me
year,
to that.
No, it'll hit next year. It'll hit in 2023. The
all
one
right,
year you
we'll
don't
see.
do it. So we need to wait until you don't make that prediction, and then it's gonna happen.
I'll predict it next year.
Ooh,
All right.
even better.
Thank
Take
you.
it away from
I
Zach.
appreciate that. Then my last prediction is that Microsoft will make a new multi-billion-dollar acquisition this upcoming year. They're pretty acquisition hungry. We were talking about with ZeniMax, and I think they bought like a media company last year for like twice as much, for like 16 billion. So they're throwing money around left and right, and they're already in talks to acquire Discord, which isn't confirmed, but I think if they don't get Discord, they're probably going to snatch something else up in the gaming world. So we'll see. I think there's definitely going to be a huge acquisition coming from Microsoft this year.
They got a lot of money.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a big year.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it.
Wonder when I'll actually have a next gen system.
Yeah.
And what the state of the supply chain will be come the end of this year.
And Zach, on your Naughty Dog one, I think there's a new Uncharted in development, but I don't think Naughty Dog's
It
making
seems
it.
like they're pretty
Oh.
content on being done, at least Naughty Dog
Yeah.
themselves, with Uncharted. They don't feel the
And
need
they're-
to do the solo
Ben
trilogy
Studio.
themselves.
We all in on Ben's studio?
The one that I'm seeing right now, no, they're working on.
They're working on their own thing.
Yeah, they made that very clear.
That's different.
The one I'm betting on is Sony San Diego, the MLB The Show developers. Apparently, just like Playground, opened up a second team within their studio, and it kind of seems to be people think that's who's making Uncharted.
A weird choice.
Yeah.
I
And as
feel
for Naughty Dog, what I'm hearing is that they're working on that remake of The Last of Us,
Which is
Part
still like
one.
so stupid. I don't
The-
understand it.
The multiplayer update for Part 2,
Yeah.
and this is new this week, a director's cut version of Part 2 with more content. So I guess to me, that actually provides a little bit of context to the Part 1 remake. If they release a PS5 only Last of Us collection with Part 1 remade, Part 2 director's cut, and the multiplayer mode,
Yeah.
you can justify that for $60 or $70 at that point.
Anyway, I feel like I'm going to be getting burned out on this.
I know. Yeah.
Last of Us
Yeah.
Part 2 came out. Last of Us already got a PS4 remake and is readily available. Or not remake,
Yeah.
but remaster. And then you've got HBO doing their show.
TV show.
And it's
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
like, man, there is so much going on, and it's so much of the same stuff. When it's like, oh, you have a remake of a game that is already very readily available, and then you have a TV show coming out that is very similar to the story that is
Mhm.
being told there. And then if you get a director's cut of the second game, it's like, well, there's the second game that you just played with a little bit of new content.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
it's
the
like-
same stuff over and over.
I feel the same way, but at the same time, I get it. I mean, the only reason they're releasing that PS5 Uncharted thing is so it's on store shelves when the Uncharted is in theaters.
Yeah.
And I can see the same thing being with the show. I could see a Mario game come out this December after Zelda in November to coincide with the movie release. And we've seen the announcement of there's the Donkey Kong theme park, the rumor of a Donkey Kong movie, and the rumor of a Donkey Kong game. So it's like these companies trying to time movies, TV shows, other experiences with new game releases. It does make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah, on the business side of it, it does make a lot of sense. But on the side of it of like, do I want to play these again right away? The exact same experiences? I don't know if I do right now.
And The Last of Us is like, I don't understand personally the appeal of Last of Us multiplayer, because to me that's like a very intense personal story, and it's like just doing the killing, the brutal murder in multiplayer doesn't sound fun to me.
Well, yeah, the Last of Us games have always been carried by the story. The first one more so than the second one, but even the second one, like, there really wasn't a ton of new innovations in the combat. There's like little tweaks and things here and there to make it a more enjoyable experience, but I would not be playing a Last of Us game for its gameplay and its gunplay. You play it for the story, and some of the encounters can be fun, and some of them are just like, yeah, I'm just playing through it to get to the story. But
yeah,
got to cash in. Got that TV show coming out and all that stuff.
When is that coming out?
I don't know.
They don't have a date on it.
I have no idea. Yeah.
Well, we'll have the Uncharted movie to watch before that, most likely.
And Sonic 2.
Yeah. Man, so much video game stuff with movies coming out with Uncharted and Sonic and Mario and Last of Us in the works. Oh my god.
Yeah. Donkey Kong.
It could all be garbage, or some of them could be, I don't know. It's
Sonic 2, I think. Sonic 2, I feel pretty good.
It'll be good enough.
Hope. Yeah. You'd hope. They hit it right with the first one. Let's hope they don't fall off the wagon. Which is, it's Sonic, so it's possible. But Knuckles will carry it. All right. I think that'll wrap things up. Any final thoughts? The last episode before 200. 199.
I want a new Donkey Kong game.
Yeah?
I really do, yeah.
Is that your prediction?
No, I don't think it's this year. Yeah, I think this year's pretty set. But I think next year we could see a new Donkey Kong. If it was like Donkey Kong Odyssey, oh my god, that would be so cool.
You want the Donkey Kong Uncharted game?
Yeah, I really want that. It's my new dream. Give me a Yakuza F-Zero game and give me a Donkey Kong Uncharted game. And I'll be set.
To get Donkey Kong. I mean, his last two games have been really good with both Donkey Kong Country Return games and Freeze and Tropical Freeze. And it'd be cool to see them go back to 3D Donkey Kong and not make it an absolute slog with all the collectibles. Make it actually like fun to do all that. Yeah. So it's been long enough for them to revisit 3D Donkey Kong. And now that you have 3D Kirby coming, like, makes sense. Games are coming either going to 3D for the first time or coming back after a long absence.
And I want Uncharted just like with big set pieces. It doesn't have to be like a banana gun shooter. Like, you could have just up close combat, punchy combat with like light attack, heavy attack, like God of War. I was thinking. I was watching the Ragnarok trailer and just looking at the God of War gameplay. That could be DK in there. That could be DK.
Could put DK in any game.
And Diddy Kong is his son rolling around behind him.
Oh my god. Yep.
Zach,
God
anything from you
Kong
before?
of War?
Kong of War?
Could do it.
I think that's more than enough to end on.
See if that comes to fruition this year.
Yeah.
But that is going to do it for us on this week's episode of Ode to Games. We're here on Thursdays or Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, other podcast streaming services that you may use. OdeToGames.com has the audio version. YouTube has the video version at Ode to Games. We're on Twitter at Ode to Games. You can send an email to odetogamescast@gmail.com. For Logan and Zach, I'm Kevin. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week for episode 200.